breaking news: the Leafs have fired Sheldon Keefe. The only place I've seen it was actually their Twitter account, right? Was that where it was announced? Because, either way, the Leafs have announced that Sheldon Keefe has been relieved of his role as head coach. The organization will immediately begin the search for a new head coach. Tree Living, in a statement issued, said, Sheldon is an excellent coach and a great man. However, we determined a new voice is needed to help the team push through to reach our ultimate goal, end quote. It's pretty clear the writing was on the wall here, right? And I said it to Ennis today when he came on and asked me about, hey, well, are you sure? And I said, yeah, of course I'm sure. Like, if you look at his playoff record, I think it's now worst in Toronto Maple Leaf playoff history. He'd been given ample opportunities. And yes, do I think that he's the number one reason in which the Leafs have failed? Like, no, I think that's kind of asinine. And I think I share a lot of people's worry that this would end up being the only move of consequence when it comes to the offseason and what kind of a mistake that could end up being. Like, I just talked to Jim Bowden about the Blue Jays, right? And assessing the roster and the mistakes that they made and who's accountable for it. Like, it's kind of foreshadowing for what could come for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But either way, I don't know if there's ever been a time where a head coach has been given that many opportunities with this talented of a roster that's finished that high in the regular season year over year. Granted, never has finished top 3 for a regular season team, and then came up short and then wasn't relieved of his duties. So I think I could share that same sentiment as the Leafs and say, this guy or that Tree Living had, which is could be an excellent coach and a great man, but they clearly need a new voice. Elliotte Friedman of 32 Thoughts, NHL and Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada, all of the things, our go-to guy. He's on the line. Hey, thanks for doing this. Thanks for jumping on.
Hi, JD. No worries.
So I guess, like, percentage of surprise, this comes to you?
Low.
Yeah.
I think everybody saw it coming. I'm not surprised it took a few days. It's kind of Tree Living's way. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like to react to things quickly. He prefers to take a little bit of time, but I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall.
So when it comes to Keefe's contract, like if he is, because again, he's famously hasn't started now day one of his new extension, what do you think the likelihood is that another team is paying that freight because they pick him up and he coaches again like fairly soon?
I think there's a chance. I mean, the thing is that some of these jobs have already started to be filled.
Yeah.
But there's other ones that are still open. New Jersey is still open. Seattle is still open. Winnipeg is still open. So he's going to be a candidate for some of these jobs. I don't doubt that. But the one thing about him now is he'll be able to pick and choose a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he's got that extension and he can afford. Most coaches I know, they try to jump right back in. That it's in their blood, it's who they are, and also you want to prove your previous team wrong. But there are occasional cases, JD, where they say, you know what, I don't like anything I see and I can afford to be patient, but he will be a contender. He absolutely will be in the mix.
Well, the reason I ask it from a Leaf standpoint too is because anytime you're paying for an old coach, and they just did this with Babcock too, right? Like they paid full freight on him. And people go, well, they're the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've got infinite amount of money. What would they care? And I'm like, I think they would care. I think I would care. I think if I was a shareholder, I would go, hey, sorry, how much are we spending on coaching? Do you think that if he's not hired, it could actually material impact what they are looking to add from a coaching set? Like, say, a Brindamore. No, so you don't think it'll...
I don't believe that.
Okay.
Look, I agree with you on one thing. One very important thing is that the Maple Leafs didn't like what happened with Babcock, and it fundamentally changed the way they do business. I completely agree with you on that. However, they also know that, Keith Pally doesn't come into this job without assurances that he's going to be able to do what he feels he needs to do. Mm-hmm. And so, even though they may have to pay a bit of the freight on Keith's salary, it's nowhere near in the Babcock stratosphere, and I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Do you think that, what is your read on who is next then? Like, are they going to be patient with this coaching search, or do you think that part of this is because they've got their man, and maybe that man is Craig Berube?
I think that I think part of it is that they also know if they want to get their preferred candidate, and I agree with you. I think it's probably Berube, you can't afford to wait. You know, he's down the road in New Jersey. He's a serious candidate there. If you really want him, you have to get in there and say, okay, we're in this quote-unquote competition. I wouldn't be surprised if they interview someone like Todd McClellan too, and also he's been down the road he's had I think 4 interviews, and he's been involved in a few of these things. So you have, like JD, you can't sit around. You may think the world revolves around you, but it doesn't. You have to get involved. So
Joel Quenneville is a non-starter.
I don't see it. There's just seems to be enough confusion about the whole situation and the status that I don't think that's going to be the case. No.
Yeah. Well, I guess the reason why you had asked too is, are they going to be patient? Is there, and I think it's mostly fan grumbling, but some of it has been, the Brind'Amour still doesn't have a contract, but that they would want to see how it plays out with potentially like a Brind'Amour or even like probably even more unrealistic, a John Cooper.
I don't think so. I mean, I've heard all these, like, it's been, as you can imagine, it's been a wild couple of weeks or a couple of days for rumors.
Yep.
I've tried to look into all of this stuff. And I don't think so. No, I don't believe that's the case.
You know that I'm basically asking you questions that are like rumors created by Leafs Twitter, right?
Yes, JD. But you know what? Like, we all deal with those things.
Yeah. No, I just I need to put it out there that it's like I have to ask these for those people that are curious about these things. Okay.
Okay.
I know you got to run. I know you're gonna have a crazy schedule today, but do you have a read on Friday yet? Like, is this because, again, I mentioned just before you came on that a lot of people are afraid that this team is going to just basically put it on the coach and that they're not going to make decisive changes. And there was some murkiness about Shanahan's future. And now, we're getting to see Pelly for the first time publicly, and he's going to speak with these guys or some staggered version with these guys. Like, what is your read about what we're going to get Friday, like, as of today?
Give me about an hour.
An hour? Can I call you back? I text you? Like, do I get that?
I got Merrick at noon. I'm hoping to have some more concrete answers before then.
Okay. All right. There's a pretty good plug for Merrick's show. That's probably the best plug that you can possibly get for a show. Someday will you plug for my show that way where it's like, hey, guess what? Might have the most pertinent information leading to the most popular franchise later today. Hey, Elliotte, thanks so much for jumping on, man. I really do appreciate it. And yes, we'll absolutely be listening to you today on the Jeff Merrick Show.
No worries, JD. Glad to do it.
Yep. Take care. Elliotte Friedman, 32 Thoughts, NHL and Sportsnet.